Hi, Melanie, and thanks for taking the time for a few questions from us today. Melanie will be here today to answer a few questions that we've received from online, as well as some interest from our architects and interior designers. Melanie is the CEO of Chapters International, and welcome.
Thanks, Nicole, and really great to see you in these very strange times where none of us are able to see face to face. We love technology and the fact I can see you on the camera. And hi to everybody else. So as Nicole said, I am the owner and CEO of a company called Chapters International, which is made up of three parts. Chapters Source, which we do import and export specifically to the decor and design industry. We've got a project division, Chapters Interiors, where we do actual projects for clients. And then very excitingly is we've got Chapters Academy, which is a long-standing training academy that we've been doing face-to-face training for very many years, and we've very recently taken online.
So we've received, I think with everyone being at home in these great times, people have put a lot more thought into planning, into decor, what's going to happen to their homes when all of this is over. And I know a lot of people are keeping rands and cents at top of mind and savings. So through our social media platforms, some of our customers have come forward with some questions. Hence us putting this together, we thought we would now do a nice collated interview with you that you can maybe give some advice and guidance to the people at home. And then through our LinkedIn, we've received some questions from interior designers and architects as well. So we'll go through some of those questions as well, if you don't mind.
Perfect. Let's see how we can help.
Perfect. Okay. So the first question we got was, what is the quickest and most cost-effective way to change a room?
So I would probably say in these strange times, as you call them, and with the everybody watching their rands and cents, one of the most cost-effective ways would be adding or changing a color. So color has an enormous impact on spaces, much more than we actually realize. And it also has quite a big psychological impact. And also it's one of the most cost-effective ways to change the way a room feels. So for example, there's nothing wrong with a lick of paint, changing a room from mushroom gray to a warm, sunnier yellow. Yellow is a much more positive color. We need that kind of warmth in the coming winter months. So color would be one thing I would say that would be that easy to change. And it could be paint, it could be a rug, it could be accessories, and it could even be in a floor or a wall tile.
So the second question might be tying in with that, because one of the questions were that classic blue is the color of the year, and how could we incorporate that in our homes without doing a major renovation? Does that again tie in with the color?
Very much so. So it is so ironic that the color of the year for 2020 was considered classic blue, because the color of the year was determined. It's usually determined around about November of the year prior. And it's so interesting that for the year that we're having, that the color blue was chosen. And I want to, so Pantone Institute, who defines the colors of the year, they give a very specific description about the effect and impact and the thinking that's gone into those colors. And I want to read it to you, just so that I'm not quoting Pantone Institute incorrectly. They say that classic blue is a timeless and enduring blue hue that brings a sense of peace and tranquility to the human spirit. And considering our current world health affairs, how we couldn't have asked for a better color. So the color blue is very restful. It's very relaxing. It calms down the adrenal gland in your head. It's one of the colors most used in restful spaces. So with everything that's going on in our outside world, if you imagine it, it's probably like a red color. It's dangerous to be interacting with people. All of those sort of danger signals outside our world invoke the color red in our mind's eye. And the opposite of that is blue. And ways to incorporate blue into your home, I'm not saying go and reupholster every item that you own in blue and paint every wall blue, but there's little ways to do it. So for example, you can play around with fabrics in your very restful spaces. So for example, change out your yellow bed linen for something that's shades of blue. Swap out scatter cushions, even coming down to changing the pots in your kitchen So interestingly, red is one of the colors that's most popular in kitchens, and it actually speaks to the glands in our brains, and it makes us more hungry. And so even putting blue in your kitchen will influence the way your body responds to appetite. So having a classic blue as your cabinet color with a beautiful marble countertop and some brass or gold handles is a really sleek way to bring in the color blue into a space that you wouldn't normally consider putting blue in. For example, bathrooms. Towels in a bathroom or tiles in a bathroom or any element like that is very easy to bring into your space to create a much better sense of calm and to incorporate the color of the year.
Next question, heading into winter months, when would you suggest is the best time to renovate your outside areas, and what should be taken into consideration for the outdoors?
So definitely, as South Africans, we're very privileged to have the kind of outdoor environment that we do, where we can spend a lot of our time outdoors. And we're going to get to it a little bit later when we talk about one of the reasons South Africans love wood look tiles or anything wood look is because it brings the outdoors into our homes, and we're very used to it, unlike Europeans, for example. So for me, a really good time to redo an outdoor area would be in the months that you're not using it. So winter makes sense. In the Highveld in Gauteng, it's ideal to do renovations because it's dry. You don't have any rain, but on the more coastal areas, you do have the challenge of rain. But do your outdoors when you're not using them so that they're ready for when you do want to use them. Often in renovations of outdoor areas, a lot of the surrounding plants or grass will get damaged. So there's a lot of foot traffic across it. There's cement being dumped on it. There's tiles being stored on it. So the gardens and the surrounding areas tend to get quite damaged. By doing your renovation in winter, it gives you that end of winter, early spring, the chance to lay new grass or sort out your flower beds, so that by the time spring does come and you're starting to use that space late spring and summer, your garden has recovered from it. So I think winter's probably a very good time. Also, my suggestion for outdoor spaces would be to make sure you're using the appropriate product. So what a lot of people do, and they assume, or they're uneducated, that a tile is a tile. They don't realize that there's actually different tiles for different applications. So specifically outdoor, for example. So you can achieve exactly the same look as your indoor tile if you've got a big open area that opens off your indoors. You can achieve exactly the same tile, but the texture on the surface makes it more applicable for an outdoor application.
Absolutely, and we often, in a lot of our communication going out to the consumers is ask the right question. Inform the sales consultants about which area, foot traffic, the idea of the space that you're tiling, because it could be a very, very costly exercise to redo the whole area. And then, as you know, I did share some information on our new vinyl flooring, the Moda Vinyl. Very exciting. We received it just before lockdown, so we actually haven't had the grasp, and we're still so excited about this new product. I wanted to understand your view on vinyl flooring.
Two views, one on vinyl flooring and then one on your actual product. So most people our age have this preconceived historic idea of what vinyl flooring is. It used to be in our granny's kitchens, and it was made up of those sort of different colored squares, and each one was a different color, and it was laid individually, and eventually the glue would go brittle and they'd come up, and they made a very specific plastic noise when you walked on them. So I'm sure anybody who's listening to this video is now having a flashback. I mean, my grandmother had those. And a lot of people, when you talk to them about vinyl, that's what they go back to. So they immediately develop a mental block about it. Where in reality, the technology and the science around vinyl flooring has come a long way. It's no longer laid in squares. It's no longer as plasticky. It doesn't buckle or crimp when it's wet. So I encourage people to consider vinyl as an additional flooring option because things have come a long way. Then I've had a look at your new product, and it's stunning. It really, really is stunning. And one of the reasons I think it's going to do so very well is it's cost effective. Two, it's wood look. So I mentioned earlier about South Africans love wood look. As you know, every time I see any of your staff, I ask them what the highest demanded tile is, and it's always wood look. That's a global thing as well as very specific to South Africa. So, and I think you're going to find even a bigger uptick post the current pandemic in the demand for wood, because people are trying to reconnect to nature, because connecting outdoors and not having access to it, or being exposed to so much technology at the moment, and there being no balance. So South Africans particularly love anything wood look as a finish, because we're very used to having a lot of nature on our doorstep. And now with a vinyl that has a wood look, and yours specifically actually has a grain on it. So vinyl, old vinyls could be very flat looking in the printing process. It had no depth to it. It didn't even have visual texture to it. This one now has visual as well as tactile texture. So it'll give you the impression of wood look. It's also, when I looked at the product, it's moisture resistant. So you can use it in spaces like kitchens and bathrooms, which you wouldn't have considered before, because certain products can't get wet. So I think it's an all-rounder. It's got the beautiful design that's going to appeal to South African or African needs around connecting back to nature. It's got a beautiful texture to it. It's got a great price point. And I can use it throughout a space, including bathrooms. So I think it's an awesome product.
So if we look at from our professional side, from our LinkedIn, we had a couple of questions. And as you know, that space for us is your architects, your QSs, interior designers, and a lot of students, that are in interior design. So they get a lot of value from our LinkedIn page. And we've received just 4 questions from them. So, yeah, we can hit it right off. What are the smart and nifty ways of cutting budget corners? And have you experienced this before in a professional environment where you've had to cut budgets quite hugely in order to get the project completed?
A couple of tips on that is, number one, I would say spread your budget carefully. So not everything has to be the top of the range and the priciest item on the market, for example. So where you're wanting to spend big bucks would be on your finishes, because finishes are long-lasting. They need to be hard-wearing. They need to be easy to maintain. And if you're ever going to be promoting that space, finishes is going to be very, very obvious. So your finishes are a good place, like tiles or vinyl or the type of wall paint or cabinetry. Those are things that you want to spend money on good quality items. Not everything can be top of the range or top of the budget in all projects. We'd all love to have an unlimited budget project. There's so many things on the market at the moment that are cheaper but incredibly well made. So you could take an item that comes from a retailer, for example, and it's all about how you place it and what you pair it with. That makes it look like 10 Rand or 1,000 Rand. So my advice would be to spend the budget on the finishes, because that's the longest term return on the project. And then shop around in the retailers that you wouldn't necessarily consider. Or the other alternative is to have stuff made. And being in the design industry, quite often we can have something made cheaper than it is for sale in a store, for example. So look at an option. That sort of thing will impact your timelines. Your timelines will be slightly longer and there's no instant gratification. But it might help you manage the budget a little bit more. So shop around a bit and you'll find, if you know your suppliers well enough, you'll be able to find that item at different price points at different suppliers. And some suppliers have marked it up 300%, and some suppliers may have marked it up 25%. They might be having a sale. So shop around a bit, because you are almost guaranteed to find the same item, and let's say it's a mirror. You'll be able to find the same item at another supplier for a more reasonable price that fits into your budget. So it's about knowing what's out there.
When you say that some items it's more cost effective to have them made, are you referring to like your scatter cushions, like furniture, things like that you can actually look around at getting made?
So your client may have taken a photograph of a couch they saw in Southeast Asia while they were on holiday. It's not something that's available in a store in South Africa. Sometimes, and they're talking about importing it, for example,
Yes.
at great cost. Sometimes it's easier and more cost effective to make it locally. So work with a client in terms of the visuals they've got, sketch it up with them, work very closely with your frame maker and your upholsterer, and often you'll be able to make that item for them cheaper. You're also giving local labor and employment a bit of an investment, and it'll be cheaper than importing that item for them, for example.
Okay, so a question from one of our students is they wanted to know what the difference is between an interior designer and an interior decorator.
Okay, so this is not an uncommon question. And it's the two terms, interior decorator and interior designer, are very often used in exchange for each other. There's a lot of confusion between the two roles in the industry as well as outside the industry, and for good reason, because there's quite a lot of overlap. So an interior designer is somebody who looks at the science of a space. So they look at what the function of that space is, and then they design that space, walls, windows, light sources, electrical points around the function of that space. An interior designer works very closely with an architect. So they'll have architectural skills or knowledge as well. Whereas an interior decorator is somebody who works on the aesthetics or the beautifying of the room.
And also, I just wanted to find out, with interior decorators and interior designers, do they follow the project through? Does it fall over into a project management project, if I can say it that way?
It depends on the scale of the project. So on a very large scale, so let's say we're building a new Discovery building like there is in Sandton, which, if I'm not mistaken, is a Green Building Council building. Correct. Like your showroom in Bedfordview. So that scale of project will actually have a team of project managers that will then take over the interior designers at some point in the project and be pushing the deliverables and the suppliers and that. On smaller projects, very often an interior designer or an interior decorator will take on the role themselves. That's part of the industry. And interestingly enough, the two places that decorators and designers fall flat, whether it's their own income or project resolution or happy clients, is administration. So you'll find a lot of interior decorators and designers hate admin, particularly billing. And also logistics and project management. And there's a lot of that involved in this industry. So very often an interior designer and an interior decorator will take on the role of a project manager, depending on the size of the project.
Then we just wanted to understand what your 5 top pain points that you often go through with a customer and how you overcome them.
One of the things, so this is a service industry, one of the things we forget is that we are here to provide a service, and all customers or clients are human beings, and they have needs and wants and values, and they, interestingly, I find a lot in this industry that clients are not able to communicate what they want. And it's your job as the service provider to find ways to dig those gold nuggets out of them. And it's a skill that comes with time and with practice. Clients know what they want. They know how they want the space to feel and to look and how they want to feel in it, but they're not able to articulate it. So helping them crystallize their vision, help identify their style. So we do a lot of this training with the Italtile staff, is understanding interior styles. So your Victorian, your modern, your contemporary, your Art Deco, and also people's personal style and what they would be attracted to. and we're going to talk about it a little bit later when we talk about the chapters courses, is I always say to everybody, your first training should be about understanding style, architectural style, interior style, and people's personal style. Because once you've got that, you can say to them, I see you've got quite a lot of shiny jewelry on. They're going to like mirrored surfaces. So let me recommend bedside tables that are mirrored, for example. Third one would be managing clients in terms of budgets and turnaround times. Everybody has champagne tastes and box wine budgets, and they don't understand why things cost what they do. And it goes back to our discussion a little bit earlier about where to invest the budget correctly. So educate them around why things cost what they do. Be prepared to have a backup if they say, oh, that's a little bit pricey for me. Have a backup option if you know that they're going to stall on that particular one. And also help them manage or understand timelines. A fourth one would probably be managing costs. So very quickly with a client who's got champagne taste and box wine budgets, costs can get out of hand. And your responsibility as the project manager or designer or decorator in this relationship is to help them manage those costs. Look at an alternative. Do we need a cheaper carpet? Do we need a cheaper countertop? Where can we cut to make these things to make these things fit? Sourcing is also a pain point that you can help. Clients don't know where to find things. And it goes back to our discussion earlier about the tiles suitable for outdoor areas. Some clients don't know that there are tiles suitable for those sorts of areas. They're paying you to have that knowledge, to go and find it. So really get to know your suppliers, see who's new on the market, who's closed shop, who's merged with who. So it's very good to stay in touch with your suppliers and know what they're doing. And then the last one I would probably say as a pain point, and it is where a lot of people in this industry fall flat, would be the project management. Your client doesn't know that they're employing you for a project management role. And in this design industry, you need to develop and nurture your skills around project management, because on every single project, something will go wrong. But it's about how you handle it.
If a client wants to sell and is planning for a quick cosmetic renovation, what would you suggest are considerations and suggestions on getting this done quite quickly?
So I think knowing your audience, the area that you're in, the demographics of the people that live in those areas, what their language is, what their ethnicity is, what their age group is. Older people like very different things to younger people. So understanding your audience is probably one of the top things, and we haven't even got to doing anything to the space yet. And if you are turning this around quickly for profit or getting rid of stock or whatever the case is, you want to appeal to the audience who's going to be closest to it, to try and facilitate that sale much quicker. Also, know the environments that are going to add value. And for any homeowner, any renovator, any builder, they will know that the things that add most value is kitchens and bathrooms. And it may discourage potential buyers, or it may bring your price down. Do the maths, have a look at how much it's going to cost you to renovate that space versus if you're able to recoup those costs on your sale, and go ahead and do those spaces, because kitchens and bathrooms sell.
So that's the questions that we had over the past couple of weeks that we've received. So thank you for taking the time with that. I just wanted to touch on your online courses, if you don't want to just give us a bit of a breakdown on that, and then our offering as well.
So Chapters Interiors, the academy side of Chapters Interiors, we do two types of training. We do corporate training, such the likes of Italtile and the Italtile group. But the other half of that business is we have for years been doing quite a lot of public training. And we've now subsequently launched our online courses. And it's been amazing. It's been an amazing experience from a understanding different technology point of view, people's responses to it. It challenged me quite a lot in terms of thinking, in terms of the way I present stuff or explain stuff. We have a newly updated website. The links through to our training are on that website. We also have a very specific training platform. You can go directly there. So any topic that relates to the interior design and decorating industry. Courses are, you can do it on any platform, so a laptop, an iPad or a tablet, as well as on your mobile. And they are any place and any time. You've got as long as you need to be able to go through those courses, rewatch modules. There's a lot of great quizzes and exercises involved in them as well, to just reinforce the learnings. So it's turned out really, really well, and we actually really proud of the work that's come out of it. And then because of our long-standing and very special relationship with Italtile, we wanted to offer a very special discount to Italtile people and followers, and we're offering a 20% discount off the current rates of all of our courses, which is a great discount. And we really hope it encourages people to come and have a look and sign up and do a couple of courses.
I just wanted to ask you, do you have to be in the interior design industry to take your courses? Or if it's something of personal interest, can anybody take your courses?
Anybody can do it. So the way the courses are actually structured, they are all individual units. So you can go and decide, I want to learn more about color and space planning, and just choose those two. If you are new to the industry or you've got a passion for it, there's actually a recommendation on our website of where to start. So it's what we've actually bundled. There's 5 courses that are almost the building blocks that give you a really good foundation. Okay. For if this is your hobby or your passion, you're wanting to do your home. And those courses, what we've actually done is we've bundled them together as a foundation bundle, and they are already pre-discounted. So you don't have to be in the industry at all. You can have a passion for it. You might be exploring that maybe you want to change careers and you want to do 1 or 2 courses to see what this is about.
That's fantastic. So just to confirm, people can email you on info@chaptersinteriors.com. Or anyone can get hold of us through our social media pages or our website, and we'll then ensure that they get hold of you, that we can get them on board for these courses.
So, yes, so as you said, we're available on info@chapters, which is a plural, interiors, which is a plural, all one word, .com, or have a look at our website. So for all of your Italtile users, if they want to make use of the discount, it's applicable only for Italtile followers. What you do is you email us at info@chaptersinteriors.com, and you say that you saw this podcast, and you quote the discount code of Italtile_0147. I'll say that again, Italtile_0147. And we will apply your discount code for you. Alternatively, get hold of Italtile, and they'll forward your contact details on to me, and I'll apply the discount code for you that way.
Again, Melanie, thank you so much. I think it's been very valuable for us. I think it's also amazing that we can get back to people with their questions, especially from someone, from your profession, and one of our partners. So absolutely looking forward to the next batch. We'll be in touch again, and we'll definitely have another session with you. And if you have any suggestions, ideas, or themes that you see people, on your side, we can definitely make a platform to get that information and educate and assist people on our platforms.
Perfect. That sounds great.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and we'll chat soon.